Hey guys, it is spooky story time. But first, get yourself a snack, a drink, get comfy. I have right here, let me put this down. There we go. So I got my little cauldron cup, and today I'm going to have a mango boobly, or buble, whatever it's called. So, how has your week been? Let me know. Ooh, I love that. Oh, and it fits perfectly, in case you were wondering. So, I was just scrolling through TikTok, and let me just take a... Yes, mango bubbly is delicious. So like I was saying, I was scrolling through TikTok and I came across this video. I'm gonna try to put it in here. I'm gonna try to put it in here so you can see what I'm talking about. But to summarize it, it was El Diablo showing up to a dance, a baile in Mexico. And so I have a story to share with you. It's not my story, it is a friend of mine. Actually, he is, if you watched my Mexico horror story, he was the friend that invited me to go stay in Mexico with his family. So we're gonna call my friend Mano, because I would call him my hermano. So I have a lot of hermanos that are not like blood related, but you know, friends that have become so close to me that I just call them hermano. So this friend told me that, because he was from a state in Mexico. So if you're not familiar, yes, Mexico has states. So he was from Jalisco. And if you know about Jalisco, pretty much that's the heart of Mexico. That is the culture that they most are, that Mexico's most recognized for. The charros, the, you know, the music, mariachi music, all of that. The clothing, dance, like for folklore dancing, all of that. So my partner is also from Jalisco. So I asked him when I saw this video, I'm like, have you heard of like any stories like this? And he's like, well, I've heard of the stories, but like, you know, never experienced it. So this friend, Mano, he told me a story that his grandfather, I believe it was his grandfather or great grandfather, had experienced something like this. So this was back in, you know, let's say it like this. This was back in ancient times. So in feudal Mexico, not Japan, feudal Mexico. So pretty much, you know, everyone was probably like farmers, agricultural workers, right? And this particular night, it was a weird night. He said it was like, you know, cloudy. It was just one of those weird nights that, you know, everything was still and eerie. And so my friend's grandfather went to the cantina, so the bar, the, you know, the local bar that was there, and everybody was just, you know, drinking and chatting and, you know, doing whatever people do at bars. And they just heard like the clapping of hooves. So they were like, oh, like there's a horse coming. But it just sounded like really, like from far away you could hear this horse, so it sounded really like strong. And then the doors of the cantina opened, and they just see this man come in, and this, you know, who's a big robust man, and everybody was just staring, like they were just staring, because he wasn't from there. Like if you know like small town Mexico or Latino America, pretty much like in small towns, everybody knows each other. If they're not related, everybody knows each other. So, everybody was just like, "Who's this strange man?" Right? And like he was dressed to the nines. Like he looked amazing, but also, he was just strange. And then that's when people started noticing. When you look down at his legs, he had a hoof and he had pretty much like a rooster leg. So they were like, es el diablo. So nobody said anything, but they just let him, he ordered a drink. They let him drink. And when it came time for him to pay, he literally just, put on the counter. They said it was one of those ancient gold medallions, like pure gold. And, finished up what he was doing and he just left. And they said that they all like, ran out to see like what? Like El Diablo estuvo aquí. And like they said when they saw the horse, this was a huge, like they said, huge black stallion that like was easily like 2 meters, and it had red eyes and like even like despedía fuego por la boca, so like it breathed fire. And just as the same way he came, the same way El Diablo left the town. And I was just like, oh my god, like I have never heard of this kind of story. But in El Salvador we have urban legends. So we have like the Siwanava. I think I have a story about that, so I will share it later. And we have, if you know about the Siwanawa, she has a son called El Cipitillo. We have El Cadejo, La Careta Chillona. And yeah, that's pretty much the story that I wanted to share. This is probably going to be a compilation video of short stories, horror stories that I've heard along, my time talking about this, because literally I have had hauntings, I've been haunted myself. And so like when we get to the subject, I will share my story. People will share their stories with me. So another story that I can tell you about the same Mexico trip, I don't know how to describe it. I wish I had taken pictures, or that I had a picture. Like the pictures that I have are pretty much of like La Sierra, so like the mountains, because we were living up in the mountains. I will put here a picture. So this was one area where they had ostriches on the family like land. So if I can describe it to you, so pretty much if you're looking from, the bottom of the mountains upwards, on this side, like it was literally on a slope. So on this side was, their main house. So it was like a mansion. It was the main house, and then you would go down the slope, upwards, was the ostrich cage area. I don't know what to call it. And then down further was the next house. So it was a smaller house, and that's where I was living with my friend. Well, my friend's wife, Mano's wife, and their kids. And I remember, actually I have 2 stories. So I remember this one night, like we were at the main house and we were just chilling, and I just was so tired. I was extremely tired, and I just, we were watching TV, and I just turned to my friend and I said, estoy muy cansada, like me voy a bajar a la casa ya. And I was like, ¿necesitas ayuda? And she was like, no, I think I can handle, like, taking all the kids, whatever. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, bueno, si me necesitas, like, voy a estar abajo. So basically I said, like, I'm really tired, and do you need me to, like, help you bring the kids, or, like, help you go down to the house? And she was like, no, like I think I can handle myself bringing the kids and all that. She's like, you can go, like if you're tired, go ahead. And so I was like, okay, like no worries. So they had it was like one of those metal staircases down like the backside of the house. So I start going down the house, and like right in front of that staircase, like you know, they had like a stone walkway. It would be grass and then a fence. So this was like it was a big piece of land. I'm just gonna say, like, it was a big piece of land. It was a mansion. And you know, I go down the stairs, and then I'm walking down the pathway, and as I'm walking, I'm seeing like something white in the distance. And you know, I'm walking, I'm literally like not even halfway down the slope that I was talking about, when literally the white thing zoomed past the fence. And I just stood there in shock, because I kid you not, I saw La Llorona. It was literally a woman with a white tunic dress, like hair, long hair, just disheveled, and it just zoomed past the fence. I literally, like, when I came to, like, this was in seconds, okay? But I know what I saw. I literally ran up the metal stairs, and like I threw the door, and they were all like, oh my god, like what's going on, what happened? And I was like, oh my god, like I just saw something. I was like, I literally just saw a woman, like she literally ran up to me, like it was either a woman. And in the moment I was like, I was in denial, okay? I was like, it was either a woman, or it was like a coyote or a wolf. I'm like, it definitely, if it had to be an animal, it had to be a wolf, because it was big. And like it just like ran fast, and it ran up against the fence. And I was just like, you know, just speaking coherently, and they were just like, what? What did you just see? And I'm like, I saw it. So that was the time that I saw La Llorona. I'm gonna say it was La Llorona, because literally, what else was it? And legend has it that in these parts of Mexico, like up in the rural areas, if you have a baby, there's witches, okay? And the witches, when you have a baby, they will put the mother to sleep in order to like sneak into the house, and we call it chupando el bebé. So they will suck the life out of your baby. And there was this particular night that something like that happened. Not the baby, like, and nothing happened to the baby, but last night, my friend said to me, she's like, did you sleep last night? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, why? I'm like, I actually slept really well. I'm like, why? Here's the thing. At this time, yes, I am a heavy sleeper, but at this time, I was going through insomnia. Like, it took me so long just to fall asleep, and then I would be waking up at, you know, the regular hours, and I would be all groggy, or sometimes I would feel perfectly fine. It was weird, but again, typically I am a heavy sleeper, just not at this time. Anyways, so again, like, she asked me, oh, did you just end up sleeping last night? And I was like, yeah. I was like, surprisingly, like, I slept really well. It was like a heavy sleep. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, what? I'm like, why are you saying it like that? And she's like, because she's like, last night there was like a whole fight. Like, there was a whole family fighting outside, like in the mountains. I guess they're neighbors. And she's like, and you slept through the whole thing. And she's like, literally, they were like screaming and fighting with the guy, like, and I'm like, what about? She's like, it was crazy. So apparently the guy had, I think he came out of the closet, and they just went up in arms. Like, his whole family just went up in arms about that. That's neither here nor there, but in case you're curious what they were fighting about. So it was a huge family fight. And she was just surprised. She was shocked that I was able to sleep through the whole thing because she knew that like I literally every night, like it was such like I would be awake at like 3 a.m. like on my computer, like on my little laptop, and I'd be like watching a movie or something, or like she would hear like the click clack of the typing, which now I'm like, I was so fucking annoying because we had the babies in the room. But I'd be chatting with people at like 3 a.m. and then waking up at like the normal hours. But she was shocked because again, like it wasn't, like it wasn't normal for me to like have slept so heavily. And so the thing about like what they say in like los ranchos and rural places up in the province area of like Mexico is that when you have a baby in the house, the witches will put you to sleep in order to sneak into your house and chuparte el bebé. And because we would go out, like I think I mentioned it, like we would go out all the time. We were in the tianguis and everything, so everybody realized that we had a baby with us. But the one always carrying the baby was me. And so I guess if legend is true and there were witches in the area, they probably thought I was the mother. And they put me to sleep, thinking that if she's asleep, then we can get at the baby. That creeped me out. It really creeped me out so much because there was another situation that happened. I'm not going to tell it right now, but there was another situation where, again, people thought that the baby was mine. And yeah, I was always carrying this baby. This baby was in my arms, like as if it was my baby. And so many things happened because of the baby. The amount of paranormal, or I don't know what to describe it as, like brujeria and stuff that happened when I was in Mexico, there was a lot that happened. So because things kept happening, and my friend was like, we're gonna call her Evie. So Evie, I don't know if I named her before, but Evie, we're just gonna call her Evie from now on. And basically, from all of the experiences that because we were living them together, she was like, do you like believe in the paranormal and all that stuff? I'm like, girl, if I could tell you like how haunted I am, I'm like, I'm sorry I brought this over here with me, but like I'm like haunted. And she was like, let me introduce you to this radio show that there is here in Mexico. And that was my introduction to La Mano Peluda. So the hairy hand, if you don't know. This was a famous radio show in Mexico. And the first episode that I heard was El Caso de Josué. So Josué is Joshua's case. And that was literally like the most famous case of La Mano Peluda with Juan Ramon Sainz, and he passed away because of this case. There were just, if you want to call them coincidences that happened, but there was a lot of brujeria, so like witchcraft, and a whole bunch of stuff that went along with it. So I want to point out something because as I'm editing this video, I'm literally putting two and two together, okay? Literally, I'm telling you that I'm a heavy sleeper, right? That was point number one. And during the time of the story, I was having insomnia. Point number two. So I told you about the time that there was the fight up in the mountains, that I slept through for whatever reason. And then, but the previous story, I was really tired. So as I'm listening back, editing the video, I realized that yes, it did happen to me many times that with insomnia and all, there were nights where I did have deep sleeps. And it just makes more sense now that I'm thinking about it, about the brujas. So I said maybe it was La Llorona. It could be, but it could also be a bruja that came after me thinking that like she was gonna take my baby because, you know, my thought now is that like the brujas, if they did see me like in the town, in the tianguis, you know, the markets, with the baby, they wanted to put me to sleep in order to take the baby. Like, oh my god, it just freaks me out. It just freaks me out right now. It just freaks me out right now. Like, I'm thinking about it. But yeah, my friend, like, he would tell me about these stories, like, before going to Mexico, how like there were brujas in the rural parts of Mexico, and how like you would see bola de fuego, so like fireballs like bouncing from one mountain to the next, and like you would see them up in the mountains just living their bruja lives. I don't know how to say it, but and also after I came back, so you know, I did end up like listening to all of the stories by La Mano Peluda, and I started following. So shout out to this channel, Historias de Terror, and they had a whole like section where they would talk about La Bruja de Izcalli. And Izcalli, Cuatitlan Izcalli was close by to where we were living in La Sierra de Tepozotlan. So sorry, like my these the names, these trip me up. But yeah, so literally like now I'm just like listening back to myself telling the story in the editing, and I'm just like how did I not realize this until now, like 15 years later? Crazy. Oh my god, I it creeps me out even more. Hi, editing me again. Just adding the little detail here of when I was speaking coherently and I was like, oh, it was a woman, it was a woman. Or if it was an animal, it had to be a wolf. The reason why I said that was because you know, as I'm screaming like, oh, there's a woman or whatever, they were saying to me, no, maybe it was an animal. Maybe it was an animal. So I said, if it is an animal, then it has to be a wolf because it was quite tall, right? Like the size of a person, pretty much, right? Like, it's not going to be like a little dog or a little animal. It's the size of a person. And right now, as I'm thinking about it, oh my god. Now I'm like, it wasn't La Llorona. Now I'm thinking about it, and I don't think it was La Llorona. Now I'm thinking, yes, it has to be a bruja because Nahuales. So I'm going to conclude this video here, and just stick around because this is like now opening Pandora's box. So I'm starting to remember like a lot of the stories that, you know, not particularly my stories, but friends, family stories, and my stories as well, that I'm just gonna make a compilation, and I'm gonna tell you guys all about it because yes, I do. I am a spooky, I'm a spooky girl. I'm a spooky mom. So that's what I want my content to be about. And if that's your thing, stick around. Okay, amores. Eat well. So coman bien. And I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.